In the heart of a gritty Chicago neighborhood, 16-year-old Aisha Johnson walks with a quiet strength, her eyes sharp and unyielding, hiding a secret that could shatter anyone who dares cross her. When a gang of ruthless bullies targets her little brother, they have no idea they're about to unleash a force of nature, a martial arts prodigy, forged in discipline and fury. Ready to turn their world upside down? Buckle up for a story of vengeance, heart, and jaw-dropping twists that will leave you speechless. If you're hooked already, hit that subscribe button and join our community for more gripping stories like this one. Let's dive in. The summer. Sun beat down on the cracked sidewalks of Chicago's South Side, where the air smelled of asphalt and distant barbecue. Aisha Johnson, 16, walked with her 10-year-old brother Malik, her sneakers scuffing against the pavement as she kept a watchful eye on him. Malik, small for his age, but with a grin that could light up a room, clutched a worn basketball, dribbling it clumsily as they headed toward the community center. Aisha's braids swung with each step, her posture relaxed but alert like a panther. Moving through tall grass, she'd always been protective of Malik. Ever since their mom started pulling double shifts at the hospital, leaving Aisha as the de facto guardian. Their dad was a ghost, gone before Malik could even walk, so it was just the two of them against the world. Aisha didn't mind. She'd do anything for Malik, even if it meant skipping her own dreams, to make sure he had a shot at his dot. The community center was their safe haven, a crumbling brick building with a gym that smelled of sweat and hope. Malik loved the after-school basketball program. Aisha spent her time there too, not shooting hoops, but in a small back room where Master Chen taught martial arts. Aisha had been training with Chen for 5 years, ever since she was 11, and a group of older kids had cornered her in an alley, laughing as they pushed her around. She'd been helpless then, but Chen, a wiry Chinese immigrant with a gaze like steel, saw something in her. He offered her free lessons, sensing a fire beneath her quiet exterior. Now, at 16, Aisha was a black belt in karate and a master of jiu-jitsu, her body a weapon honed by countless hours of drills. But she kept it hidden. In a neighborhood where standing out could mean trouble, Aisha blended in. Her strength a secret she guarded fiercely as they approached the center. Malik's dribbling faltered, the ball bouncing off his sneaker. Aisha caught it before it rolled into the street, tossing it back with a playful smirk. "Gotta keep your eyes up, little man," she teased. Malik stuck out his tongue, but his eyes sparkled with adoration. To him, Aisha was a superhero, even if she never bragged about it. They were almost at the center's chipped red door when a shadow fell across their path. Aisha's stomach tightened as she looked up to see 3 figures blocking the sidewalk. The Carver brothers, Dreas 17, and his younger brother Jamal. 15 stood with their cousin Trey, a lanky 16-year-old with a cruel grin. They were the neighborhood's resident bullies, known for shaking down kids for lunch, money, and picking fights just because they could. Darius, the leader, was broad-shouldered and mean, his eyes glinting with the kind of malice that thrived on fear. Well, Darius drawled, stepping closer. Little Malik and his big, "Sis, were you two headed in such a hurry?" Malik froze, clutching the basketball to his chest. Aisha stepped in front of him, her voice calm but firm. "We're just going to the center, Darius. Let us pass." Darius laughed, a low, mocking sound, and his brother and cousin closed in, forming a loose circle around them. "Pass," Darius said, cracking his knuckles. "Ain't no free passes around here." "You got something for us, Malik? That ball looks nice." Malik's eyes widened, and he hugged the ball tighter. It was a gift from their mom, one of the few things they could afford that Christmas. Aisha's jaw clenched, but she kept her cool. "He's not giving you anything," she said evenly. "Move." Darius's grin faded, replaced by a scowl. He took a step toward Malik, who flinched but didn't back down. "You got a big mouth for a skinny kid," Darius said, reaching for the ball. Before Aisha could react, he shoved Malik hard, sending him stumbling backward. The basketball slipped from Malik's hands, bouncing into the gutter. Malik hit the pavement with a yelp, and something inside Aisha snapped. She knelt beside him, checking for injuries, her heart pounding. As she saw a scrape on his elbow, "You okay?" she whispered. Malik nodded, but his eyes were wet with tears. Aisha stood, turning to face Darius, who was laughing with his crew. "Big mistake," she said softly, her voice like a blade. Darius sneered, mistaking her calm. "For weakness? What you gonna do, girl? Cry about it?" He stepped closer, towering over her, but Aisha didn't flinch. She could feel the years of training humming through her veins. Every muscle coiled like a spring. But she didn't want to fight, not yet. She wanted to give them a chance to walk away. "Last warning," she said. "Leave us alone." And Trey snickered, egging Darius on. "Man, she's acting tough," Jamal said. "Show her what's up." Darius lunged, aiming a sloppy punch at Aisha's face. The world slowed down. Aisha sidestepped effortlessly, her body moving on instinct. She grabbed Darius's wrist, twisted it behind his back, and swept his legs out from under him in one fluid motion. He hit the ground with a grunt, shock replacing his bravado. Jamal and Trey froze, their mouths open. Aisha released Darius and stepped back, her stance loose but ready. "Walk away," she said. But Darius wasn't done. Scrambling to his feet, he spat on the ground and charged again, this time with a wild haymaker. Aisha ducked under his arm, drove her palm into his solar plexus, and flipped him over her hip. He landed hard, gasping for air. The crowd that had started to gather kids from the neighborhood, some adults watching from porches, murmured in disbelief. Jamal and Trey hesitated, then rushed her together, thinking numbers would win. Aisha was a blur. She blocked Jamal's punch, used his momentum to throw him into Trey, and both crashed into a nearby fence. The fight was over in seconds. Malik stared wide-eyed as Aisha helped him up and retrieved his basketball. "You okay, little man?" she asked again, brushing dirt off his shirt. He nodded, a grin breaking through his shock. "Aisha, that was awesome," Ace whispered. She gave him a small smile, but her eyes scanned the crowd. Word would spread. She'd wanted to keep her skills hidden, but now the secret was out. Darius, still on the ground, glared up at her, his pride as bruised as his body. "This ain't over," he muttered, but he didn't dare move. Aisha ignored him, guiding Malik toward the community center. The crowd parted, some whispering, others staring in awe. She'd just become a legend, whether she wanted to or not. Inside the center, Master Chen was waiting in the dojo, his arms crossed. He'd seen everything from the window. "You used restraint," he said, his voice gruff but approving. "That's good. But you've stirred a hornet's nest." Aisha nodded, her stomach churning. She knew Darius wouldn't let this go. Bullies like him never did. Sure enough, by the next day, rumors were flying. Kids at school whispered about Aisha the ninja, and Malik couldn't stop bragging about his sister. But Aisha felt the weight of new eyes on hers, some admiring, others wary, and a few dangerous. Darius and his crew were nowhere to be seen, but she knew they were plotting. She'd humiliated them, and in their world, that demanded revenge. That evening, as Aisha and Malik walked home, the air felt heavy, like a storm was brewing. The streets were quieter than usual, the usual hum of activity replaced by an eerie stillness. Aisha's instincts screamed danger, but she kept her pace steady, her hand on Malik's shoulder. They were halfway home when a car screeched to a stop beside them. Darius stepped out, but he wasn't alone. Two older guys, both in their 20s, flanked him, their faces hard and unfamiliar. Aisha recognized the tattoos on their necks, members of a local gang Darius had been trying to impress. Heart sank. This wasn't just about pride anymore. This was serious. "You think you're tough, huh?" Darius said, his voice dripping with venom. "You embarrassed me in front of everybody. You're gonna pay." The older guy stepped forward, one cracking his knuckles, the other pulling a switchblade. Malik pressed close to Aisha, his bravado gone. "Aisha," whispered, his voice trembling, squeezed his shoulder, her mind racing. She could take Darius, maybe even one of the gang members, but two armed men? That was a gamble, even for her. She needed a plan, and fast. "Stay behind me," she told Malik, her voice low. To Darius, she said, "You don't have to do this. Walk away, and we're done." But Darius was past reasoning. "No," he said, "you're done." The guy with the switchblade lunged, the blade glinting in the streetlight. Aisha moved like lightning, sidestepping and grabbing his wrist, twisting until the knife clattered to the ground. She kicked it away, but the second gang member was already on her, aiming a heavy fist at her head. She ducked, using his momentum to throw him over her shoulder. He landed with a thud, but Darius was closing in. The first guy was back on his feet, angrier than ever. The fight was chaos. Aisha was a whirlwind, blocking, striking, and dodging, but she was outnumbered. A fist grazed her cheek, splitting the skin, and Malik screamed her name. That sound, her brother's fear, ignited something primal in her. She dropped low, swept the knife wielder's legs, and drove her elbow into his temple, knocking him out cold. The second gang member hesitated, shocked, and Aisha used the moment to grab Malik and run. They sprinted down an alley, Darius and the remaining thug in pursuit. Aisha's mind raced. She needed to get Malik to safety, but where? The community. Center was too far, and home wasn't much closer. Then she remembered the old warehouse a block away, a place kids used for pickup games. It was a maze of crates and shadows, perfect for losing a tail. They slipped inside. The air thick with dust and the faint smell of motor oil. Aisha pulled Malik behind a stack of crates, pressing a finger to her lips. Asterisk footsteps echoed as Darius and the gang member entered, their voices low and menacing. "Come out, Aisha!" Darius called. "You can't hide forever." Aisha's eyes scanned the warehouse. She spotted a rusty pipe leaning against a wall crude, but it would do. She whispered to Malik to stay put, then crept toward the pipe. Her movements silent. The gang member was closer now, his shadow looming. Aisha gripped the pipe, her heart steady despite the odds. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for Malik, for their mom, for every kid who'd ever been pushed around by someone like Darius. The twist came when a new figure appeared in the warehouse doorway, Master Chen. He'd been following Aisha, sensing trouble after the first fight. His presence shifted everything. "Enough," Chen said, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. The gang member froze, recognizing Chen's reputation. Even Darius hesitated. Chen didn't fight often, but when he did, it was like watching a storm. "Leave now," Chen said, "or you'll answer to me." The gang member backed off, dragging Darius with him. Aisha exhaled, dropping the pipe, but the victory felt hollow. She'd won, but at what cost? The neighborhood knew her secret now, and the gang wouldn't forget. Days later, Aisha sat with Malik on their front stoop, the summer heat still oppressive. Malik was bouncing his basketball again, his grin back in place. "You're like a superhero, Aisha," he said. She laughed, ruffling his hair, but her mind was elsewhere. Word of her skills had spread, and kids at the community center were begging her to teach them. Even some adults, including a local cop who'd heard about the warehouse incident, wanted her to start a self-defense class. Aisha wasn't sure. She was ready for that kind of spotlight, but she couldn't deny the spark it ignited in her. Maybe her secret wasn't a burden. Maybe it was a gift. The final twist came when Darius approached her a week later, alone, his head bowed. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice barely audible. "I was stupid. I want to learn. Like you." Aisha was stunned. She'd expected more trouble, not humility. She studied him, searching for a trick, but saw only shame in his eyes. "Talk to Master Chen," she said finally. "If he says yes, you can train. But you mess up, you're out." Darius nodded, and for the first time, Aisha saw a flicker of something redeemable in him. Maybe, just maybe, he could change. Asterisk as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Aisha felt a weight lift. She wasn't just Malik's protector anymore. She was something bigger, a symbol, a teacher, a force. The neighborhood would never be the same, and neither would she. Wow, what a ride. Aisha's story is one of courage, heart, and unexpected twists that show the power of standing up for what's right. If you loved this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories that hit you right in the feels. And hey, we want to know where you're watching from. Drop a comment with your city or state. Let's see how far this story travels across the USA. Until next time, stay strong and keep fighting for what matters.